No, just leave it. I tell you what,
It does make people hard to hear.
yeah, I guess probably need to close it, I guess, and let people come in one at a time. But
It does, yeah, it does make people hard to hear.
okay.
No, the services we would.
Yeah, Joe does a good job of bringing people in and out, so.
Get somebody collar.
Alright. Let's see here. Oh, you have a more. Oh. Oh, you just want to hear your voice.
Speed limit.
Okay, Carrie.
I was thinking a little more too.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah, no problem. All right, if you would, please, everybody stand. This is the notice of the regular session, Angelina County Commissioners Court. It's 10 a.m. Tuesday, June 9th. I would like the record to reflect that all the members of the court are present. And we are calling it to order. To begin with, we would like to recognize Reverend Stephen Pinkley, New Beginning Baptist Church, and he's going to get us started off in the right way with a prayer. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anywhere.
Oh, anywhere, Stephen.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this Commissioner's Court. We pray, God, that you bless everyone who participate. We ask your guidance in all of the decisions that be made. We thank you for protecting us here in Angelina County, and we thank you for our officials, and we pray, God, that you just continue to give them guidance so that we can serve your people in this county. Allow this meeting to go as you would have it to go. It's in Jesus' name we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stephen. That's a good prayer. All right, if you would, please remain standing and follow Commissioner Cheshire as we honor our nation's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would, follow Commissioner Harrison as we honor the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Be seated. All right, item number 4, public forum. Let's see, we have 2 individuals. If you would, please, Mark Dunn, I guess, was the first one to sign up.
Mark Dunn.
Yes.
Mark Dunn.
Morning.
Good morning. My name's Mark Dunn. I'm sure you've heard of me before. I find myself becoming a repeat offender at this podium. Certainly not for my lack of having something else to do, but rather it's my great concern for the reckless abandon that seems to be going on with this court's budgeting and spending habits. The last 2 times I stood here, it was in direct opposition to your proposed budget increase that outraged your constituents. Fortunately, a more realistic solution was found at the last minute. Insanity seems to have been found, but for a moment. Now, just a few short months later, during the most insane economic times in our country, our state, and in this county, you're moving forward with a loan of almost $6 million. This all during a time also when businesses have been shuttered for almost 2 months. Homes are being lost, jobs terminated, sales tax revenues at an all-time low. During all of this, you and every one of the county employees have received a steady check. This is not how businesses are run, and it's certainly not how this county should be run. When things are tough, we don't open up the checkbook, we tighten the purse strings. We make adjustments. My friend Mr. Flournoy stood here at your last meeting and questioned your proposed loan budget. He asked, how could there be such a wild variation in road costs between each of the precincts? And none of you could give a solid answer. You're now stating that you need almost $2 million each year over the next 3 years, simply for road material. In this year's budget alone, there's almost $1 million. What's being done with that money? I believe you owe more to this county than a quick drive down the roads and an, oh, it'll take about this much to get her done attitude. That's what I've seen, and many of my friends have seen. You see, I'm in the construction business, and when my clients ask me to take on a project of this magnitude, I have meetings. I give them reports back. We set budgets. We look at long-term cost and cost increases. I haven't seen you do any of those. When I have partners in this project, much like all of you are partners, I make sure our numbers agree before we move forward. Yours don't. So I'm not here to make you look bad. I'm here to ask you to make the county look good financially moving forward. $6 million is real money. No matter how you sell it, it's still a debt to the citizens that will have to be paid back in taxes. We're about to see a drop in sales taxes and quite possibly in home values in our area due to the recent shutdown. Put simply, we just don't go out and borrow big sums of money for short-term projects that will have to be paid back over long periods of time, especially in hard times. You were recently asked to consider to allow the citizens to vote on the unit road system.
Please stay
Sadly-
to the topic.
Excuse me?
Unit road system is not part of the topic.
It's part of my topic, Bobby. I'm going to speak on it.
No, it's not part of the
It's
topic.
part of my topic.
No, sir, it's
You
not.
wouldn't allow the citizens to vote on something. You wouldn't allow them.
Your time is up.
In hard times, you don't do the same thing over and over, expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. And if you move forward with this loan, you all need to be examined. You too.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. All right, Jill?
Jill?
Uh-huh.
This is like my favorite part walking in. I'm gonna wear a ball gown next time, I think. What do you guys think?
Please
Good
state your-
morning. I'm Jill Brewer. I'm your county treasurer, and I'm back to clear some things up because I've been receiving a lot of questions over the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted to say some things to maybe the public, because I know the public watches, and it'll help them maybe understand a little bit of what we're doing. Okay, so here we go. So borrowing money, is it a good time? Well, let's be honest, it's never a good time. But in order to grow, to improve, an additional revenue stream needs to be acquired from time to time, because we all know what happens to a growing entity when they don't have debt. And here are some arguments that I know you gentlemen went through when we were going through this process. You said, well, if we can't pay cash, maybe it's not worth doing. Then you said, well, maybe the voters won't go for it. And then I've heard some of you say, if we obligate this county to debt, then some of our voters, they won't reelect me. Maybe we should give our voters a little more credit. It's safe to say that most voters believe their own home is worth having, even if they had to finance it. Many of these taxpayers are currently financing a home, maybe a car, maybe their children's education, maybe they're still paying for their own education. Because even though we want to pay cash for major purchases such as a home or a car or an education nowadays, the majority of the people just can't do it. And the fact is that the county, we can't go to the bank. We can't take out a loan like other people can. So we have to do things differently. We have to take out a long-term purchase, and we'll do that through bonds or other authorized obligations. And in this case, we're going to do tax notes because we all know that it costs money to conduct an election, and we were trying to do this, what they call what is that, a shoestring budget? We were trying to get as much bang for our buck. I had people ask me, we're going to spend funds over a short time, but we're going to be repaying it longer, and they were concerned about that. And I said, well, this was my example I gave them. Well, let's take our county jail. We issued general obligation bonds about 20 years ago. We spent the money in 3 years, and we're still paying on the jail. We still have next year and the year after, and that's our 2012 refunding bonds that we have on debt service now. That's still paying for the jail. So with all that being said, we paid for the jail way back then, or we're still paying for the jail now. We built it way back then, and the jail is still there. So what you guys are trying to do is you're just trying to repair the roadways, is what I've been telling people. We're not trying to create a new path through the wilderness. We're trying to repair what's already there. And the roads are in bad shape, and they've been there a long time, so I have faith that you guys can repair what's already existing. Because I tell people, if they do what they're promised, then the roads will be here long after 7 years. And we really should have faith in the people that elected us. Well, darn it. Man, that's what I get for reading. I should have just talked like an auctioneer. Oh, well. I put the most important things first. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. All right, is there any other on the public forum? That was the only two that I had a list on. Okay. All right, at this point, we'll go ahead and close the public forum and move on to item number 5, discussion action on minutes for May 26, 2020 Commissioners Court. Gentlemen?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions or anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 6, appearance of Jim Wiemeyer with Help MD to discuss for the 2019-2020 utilization report for the county telemedicine program and to request renewal of contract. Jim,
Morning, y'all.
good morning. If you would state your name for the record and welcome to Angelina County.
Jim Weimer, welcome back to Angelina County.
Welcome back is right.
Welcome home, I think is what you meant.
Yeah,
How are y'all doing today?
doing great.
Good to be home, even if it's just for a little while.
Gotcha.
One of these days it may be permanently. Coming to talk to y'all, it's actually fun. I know that y'all don't always have a lot of fun items to touch on in your commissioner's court. So particularly during this time, it's good to have something that's actually saving you money instead of costing you money. But I wanted to come and give you all an update. Help MD, I started out as Shepherd's Benefits. Now it's called Help MD. I've been serving the county for, I believe, 4 years now. It's a telemedicine alternative that actually, I don't work for the company. I'm with a consulting group up in Dallas that we consult for public entities, doing a lot of various things, strategic planning, training, that type of thing. But Help MD is a strategic partner of ours because as I got to know what the company did, having spent 20 years in the public sector, I realized how much money it can save the public sector. And quite honestly, that's why I called the owner and said, hey, I need to sit down with you. You know, I might be able to do you some good, but I know you can do some of the people I know good. And that holds true. What I handed out is just the first 4 months. And if you look at the second page, it'll get down to some numbers. It breaks it down by month. Don't panic when you see a whole bunch of months with no usage because those months aren't here yet. The way they did it, they went ahead and printed out the whole year's worth, but you know, obviously we're just, and it has a small number in May, and I also want to bring your attention to the fact that when I had this report run, there were only a few days that had gone by in May. That's not a full month. But when you break it down, and I actually did some math and broke it down even a step further, as you'll see just the first 4 months, it has a grand total of over $27,000 saved to the county. Now that's every time somebody uses it. I don't know if any of you all used it, but I know the sheriff uses it because I was just talking to him in the hall. I said, I've used it several times. Whenever you use it, they ask you if you didn't use this service, what would you do? Would you go to your practitioner, wait for an appointment? Would you go to an urgent care? Would you go to the emergency room? And there's also a category that says, or you do nothing. It's good to have that question in there, but in my opinion, and hopefully you'll agree that there's some of the people that said they'd do nothing, but if they're really sick, they may not have done anything that day, but eventually they're going to go see somebody. Sure. So I've also gone and run a second set of numbers showing that eventually if they just went to the lowest cost option, which is their primary care provider, there's a number there. But going back to the savings number, the first 4 months that are showing shows $27,000 saving to the county. And I went, again, that is if, that is a comparison against what they would have done had they not used our product. Well, I went back and even deducted everything the county pays for the service, and still in 4 months, the county saved $18,000.
Wow.
and that's substantial. You know, did the usage go up a little bit first part of this year? Absolutely, because of the craziness going on. But I'll tell you that this product doesn't treat COVID, but what it does is if somebody's not feeling well, this can be your triage. They'll still call. And if the doctor doesn't feel like, you know, it is what it is, he'll treat it, he'll send prescriptions or whatever, but if he thinks there's a chance that it is that, he's gonna send you to a doctor. It did go up a bit and level out, but before this past 4 months, the county was already saving a substantial amount of money just by using this product. So what I'm here to do is it gave me an excuse to come to Lufkin, quite honestly, because I kind of miss it. But I wanted to give you all an update on the product, answer any questions. You know, I'm available to let you guys know during the year if you ever want an update, you ever want to give me an excuse to come down and go to Lions Club and play Crown Colony, I'm happy to do it. And answer questions, come to your meeting. But I think it has proven to be very cost effective for you all. You know, I'm here to answer questions, see if you're up for renewal. Actually started in June, but we just went month to month because all the craziness, y'all's agendas have been pretty full. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I know the product. At one time, we were having less participation than we would like to have seen. But I've noticed that it seems to be picking up. Is that because of what we're going through with this COVID-19 mess?
I'm sure part of it is.
Okay.
But anytime you have a product like this that people aren't used to, it takes a while to pick up for people to get used to it, because what happens is you'll have the early adopters that will use it and they'll like it, and you have the other people that forget they have it. And then the people that like it will start telling their, you know, counterparts, hey, I mean, I just used it and it took me 10 minutes. The other thing, and this was one of the things, I sat down, I don't peddle other people's products. I just don't. I mean, I represent a company and I've got to be careful doing that. So I've looked very deeply into this. I can't say unequivocally this is the only company that does it, but I have not seen another company that will open their books like this and show you what your usage is, because quite honestly, their goal usually is that you don't use it. It's like insurance. They don't make as much money if you actually use it. We actually not only will show you this, I say we, Help MD will not only show you this, they send out quarterly email reminders. Hey, be sure to use this as your first call, trying to get employees to use it, because their whole goal, very, very quickly, how they got here is the two founders of the company is a couple. Her father was a pastor. His father was retired military. Both are underserved groups. And so that's why they kind of flipped the business plan and said, if we're going to do this, we need to encourage usage because we're in it. They make money on it, obviously. They make a lot less with counties and things like this than they do in the private sector. But their goal is to expand healthcare availability and to try to save people money. That's the only reason, quite honestly, that I'm even standing here, because I don't promote other people's stuff. But
Comments from the employees that I've talked to, everybody that's used it, almost across the board has been very happy.
Yeah.
And they seem to like it. Scared to death of using it to begin with.
Exactly.
But once they actually use it the first time, that usually they're going to continue.
I'll tell you, the first time I used it, and it was several years ago, I was sitting in the office. And I get bronchitis twice a year. I don't care if you put me in a bubble. I don't care if I'm taking emergency every day, but I'm going to get it twice a year. I started feeling terrible. And I was about to go home, and I said, you know what? God, I've got this daggone app on my phone. I've only had the product a little while. So I called the thing and had a doctor called me back, and the first time, 3 minutes, talked to me, sent in a prescription. The pharmacy called me in 25 minutes, said it was ready, and I was in love. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never left my desk. That saved me a half day.
Wow.
So I believe in it, again, or I wouldn't bring it to you. It's saving you guys money. I'd love to keep you with them, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you have.
Guys.
I know your sheriff loves it because I was talking to him out there.
Janice?
The renewal rate is still $8 per person, and that's what it was last year. The previous year was 9, and then it come back last year and dropped it, so the renewal rate is still at $8.
And to my knowledge, you are the only entity getting that price,
Yeah.
period.
It was a hard negotiation.
Is this something the judge needs to sign?
Yes.
Janice, on the contract, judge's signature, and, okay, yeah,
Motion
And you've got
approved
that,
with
correct?
Judge's signature.
Thank you.
Second.
okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank y'all very much.
Good to see you,
Appreciate
Jim.
Good to see you.
Have a safe drive back now.
Oh, I will. Did you get my email, Janice, on the way down here? I wasn't 5 miles from my house, and all 8 lanes of the highway was closed for an accident. I sat there for an hour going, might be a little late. I'm late on the agenda, but I made it. Well, have a great day.
All right, thank you, Jim. Ask Gary Letney to come in, please. All right, we're moving on to item number 7, appearance of Gary Letney, Airport Manager, to discuss and request approval to apply for the CARES Act funding grant. Good morning, Gary. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Gary Letney, manager of airport. There's a couple things that they're doing the CARES Act for. Group 1 funding is for the projects. It's an automatic thing where we don't even have to apply for it. They'll add it on to the engineering of the project that we're looking at with the game fin. And then Group 2 is commercial airports. Group 3 is reliever airports, and Group 4 is general aviation airports, and that's us. And the FAA set an amount for each airport depending on activity and size and whatever, and ours is $69,000. And it's just to recoup money that we spend. And so, just seeking permission to seek that grant.
Well, I
Motion to
understand
approve.
that's pretty, oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's pretty much, that covers any of the county's expenses that we had in matching and everything. That pretty much handles all of that, so there'll be no out-of-pocket expense when we do.
Right,
a
there's no
project.
match. There's
Yeah.
no match to it. It's $69,000 and we don't do anything.
Gotcha. All right,
We've already spent the money, on whatever.
you bet.
So I just sent them invoices, yeah.
Commissioner?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one. All right. Let's see, item number 8, discussion action on a vehicle transfer to the Angelina County District Attorney's Office from the Jail Division. Transfer from Jail Division vehicle inventory, long number, 2011 Crown Vic with a lot of miles on it. Transfer to the District Attorney inventory. Gentlemen, y'all have any questions for the DA? She's gonna come in here in a few minutes if you, okay.
Motion approved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the transfer. Any further discussion?
I
All
was
in
under the
favor?
impression that she wanted 2 vehicles, but I don't know how that, she may need to explain something different.
Yeah.
When I spoke to her, I don't know. So, approved.
Okay, all right. The motion to do the transfer, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, moving on to item number 9, discussion action on a request by the Sheriff's Office to donate 2 old surplus vehicles to the Angelina County Police Academy for law enforcement training purposes, 2012 Chevrolet Tahoe and a Chevrolet Tahoe. If you would ask, is the sheriff still out there? Ask the sheriff if he would come in. And Counselor, if you would approach. I understand that there is an issue with this. Okay. Morning.
Morning.
If you would, please state your name for the record, Sheriff.
My name's Greg Sanchez.
Okay, all right.
We're here today, as you can see, we've got A vehicle that we're gonna donate to the DA's office.
We've done that.
Okay.
We've done that. I didn't ask you because there was
Oh,
no
okay,
problem.
okay.
Now, there was a question
Okay.
Commissioner Cheshire
Okay.
had, that the original request was for 2.
Yes, sir. I would tell you that we had some folks at our office go and look, and that second car, had some AC problems and had some issues that I frankly was a little scared of expense, because I try to be real conservative with the money, so we just went with the one, because I wasn't sure how much the expense would be on the other vehicle, and I just opted to not, tackle something that might wind up costing us, kind of an undetermined amount that already had some issues. But we're very appreciative. We want to thank everybody.
All right, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, now we're on the transfer to the AC, to the college.
Right.
And I was gonna get Counselor Kirby to address that, and talk about some issues that came up yesterday. Please, sir.
Judge, Commissioners. As the court's, I'm sure probably aware, there are some significant restrictions on the county's ability to make donations or gratuitous gifts of county property outside the county. It's essentially a constitutional provision that says the county is not able to do that. However, the courts and the Attorney General have recognized that there are some exceptions to that prohibition. And the primary one being that might possibly be relevant to us today is that a county can make a donation of county property outside the county if the Commissioners Court determines that it meets certain requirements, and that being that the gift is for a predominantly public purpose of the county. So the gift or donation would need to meet or satisfy a public purpose of the county. Secondly, there has to be some controls maintained over the gift or put in place to make sure that it does go towards that purpose. And third, there is supposed to be a determination that the county is receiving some benefit from the gift itself. So certain donations or gifts can be approved by the court if the court determines that the proposed gift or donation meets these requirements. And so that would be factual determinations that the court would need to make before it approved the gift. So that's kind of where you are legally on it as I see it, but be glad to answer questions or listen to anything anybody else has.
Chief Khan had told me that that right now they're training in vehicles that are not actually being used much in real-world situations, and that these vehicles, when they were to go to the academy, would be more like a real-world situation. It would be easier to train in the Tahoes. That's what most everybody is using, and it would enhance the academy. But guys,
I got a question. Is that where the deputies go to?
Well, we
practice,
do,
or-
you know, a lot of people that do graduate from Angelina College a lot of times do go work for either Lufkin PD or the Angelina County Sheriff's Office. And so during their training, and that's why he's wanting these older vehicles, like the judge said. So a lot of vehicles now, they're driving Tahoes instead of the Crown Vics, and they had Crown Vics over there.
Yeah.
So he's wanting to get an older vehicle that when they're doing the training, they can drive the Tahoes.
Something like that would be driving.
Yeah, like they'd be driving, right.
Okay.
I tell you, when I was in police academy, I trained in a Dodge Diplomat, and it was nowhere near what I went into as a patrol unit. So I don't think what you train in as far as a vehicle makes any difference. That's just my opinion from being there personally.
all right, guys.
My concern is that they was bought with taxpayer dollars. And I
Exactly.
see further down here, we're gonna sell some other ones. And I propose that we sell those as well, in an auction like we do our surplus equipment.
Okay.
Can we hang on to those vehicles here in inventory to make sure that there's some other departments around that might not want to upgrade some vehicles that they have in their fleet that maybe won't
I
swap it
would
out?
surely cover that before you put them on auction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's just bring them up here and park them and let different department heads look, see if they want to swap out vehicles and sell their own vehicles and maybe upgrade to Tahoe themselves.
Okay. All
Put
right.
that in the form of a motion.
Sure. All right.
Second.
go ahead, we have a motion to take those vehicles and, bring them up here and set them correct.
Yes, and
Yeah,
Mr. Ware
to allow the other county offices
Mr.
to,
Ware can handle all that too.
to look, and we have a second on the motion. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Sheriff. All right, thanks, Counselor. All right, item number 10, appearance of Jill Brewer, County Treasurer, to present request approval of the monthly treasurer's report for the month ending May 2020.
I just asked the sheriff, he says he feels grand when he walks in here like this too. I think we should keep this up. It stays cooler in here because there's less bodies too, and I like that too. Okay, guys, we got the good old treasurer's report, and I know you love it, but I'm gonna tell you about a couple extra sheets, and it's Bobby Cheshire's fault, so, well, actually, just the one sheet's Bobby's fault, it's your fault.
It's my fault. think
And I
later.
want y'all to know it's his fault, because when you guys ask me questions, I know you wanna know something. And so if you wanna know something, then that means I can give you better information. So when you ask, that's why I always encourage you to ask me
We jump
questions.
to what I want to know first.
I'm not gonna jump to what you wanna know first. We're gonna leave it for the last.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
We're gonna leave it for the end.
For sure.
Okay, so we know the front page is our cash flow sheet. I did this report last week. If I did it again in a couple of weeks, it would have different answers on it. That's just where our cash flow was at that point in time. Our second page is the one we love because it tells us how much money we're earning. We're not loving it as much as we loved it last year, but we're still earning something. I checked this morning, tax pool's down to .22, so that's less than what we're earning in our bank account. I just want you gentlemen to know that. I'm working on some other things, but I've got to wait for the interest rates to come back up. We're a little behind on earning our $300,000 in interest this year. I can't really do much about that, so I'm just moving money and trying to put it where I can earn the most without overloading one account, not going over our limits, because we have a limit with our depository bank of 18 million, I think. I didn't want to really say that, but I went on and said it anyway. And I don't want to get over our limit, because then we get in trouble with the external auditors, and we get in trouble with probably the Public Funds Investment Act. We're supposed to have it all collateralized, and so I don't want to do that. Payables last month was down a little bit. We only spent 1.2 million, so overall for the county, everybody did a good job of doing that. We weren't here, so we haven't been traveling and all that stuff. So our expenses are down just a little bit, but so are our earnings. Let's see, what do I want to tell you about? Sales tax was $586,000, which was, it was okay, but it's not where it was last year. And that was the question you had for me a couple of months ago. So we have a whole page on that now. And I'm only going to do it in May. So next year, I'll only make this sheet in May. We're not going to do this exercise. Third page, we're not going to do this exercise. This is your new sheet that I've added. And then the very last page is not the bond schedule. I got that on my brain, don't I? Is our CD schedule, and I went ahead and put the CD schedule in because one of our CDs came mature, and I wanted you to see how far CD rates have fallen from February to May. But the .55, which is the top one, it pays semi-annually. I put it back into a 2-year bond. That was the best rate I could get. It's paying .55, so that's better than anything else we've got going on right now. And it's just $200,000, so it's not gonna hurt us. All right, so we got the CD talked about. We kind of touched on the interest that we've earned and our little expenses that we have. We have a brand new sheet, and I'm only gonna do this sheet in May. I've decided that this might be a good budget tool for you guys. This kind of helps you see where we are is in relation to last year and the year before. And it'll help us see where we are as far as if we're on track or not for this year. So at the top, we have expenditures, and that's all expenditures. That's payroll and all the bills we pay in Commissioner's Court. That's all our payments. That's everything. Judge, are you okay?
Sure.
Are you lost?
No.
I see
no.
you flipping. I
No,
want you to be sure.
I just flipped over.
Okay, I
Gotta
just
get
want you
back.
to be sure you're with us, so you
No
can ask me
problem.
good questions, so I can add to this for next
No
year.
problem.
Okay, so 2018 is going to be our baseline. We've got to start somewhere. So last year at this time, we were up 3.59% in our expenditures. So we were spending a little more than we spent in 2018. But then this year, we're down 3% already. And I don't know if that's because of we're not traveling. I can't pinpoint it. I'd have to actually run expenses for the entire county, for every account, for every department. I'm just really not wanting to work that hard right now. But if you need me to do it, I'll do it. But I just went ahead and put expenses together because things like payroll, when we travel, we've got to pay the electricity bills, we have invoices, those things we have to spend. So we're down 3% from last year. So that puts us almost where we were at 2018, 2 years ago. Then I broke the revenues down. People seem to be more concerned about where our money comes from. So Mr. Cheshire was wanting to know how we were doing on sales tax. Well, you can see how we're doing on sales tax. We're doing better than what I normally estimate. I normally estimate $550,000 for sales tax, and anytime we break that, I'm happy about that. But as you can see, compared to the last two Mays, 18 and 19, we're down a little bit. We were up last year 6.7, and we're down almost 8% from last year, just on sales tax. That's for the whole year. So we're down a little bit on sales tax. We got a little extra money for, the next category is for federal, I cannot talk. I went to an orthodontist yesterday, and he just really put the screws to me. So I'm having a little bit of a time talking this morning. I apologize. We have the federal forest funds. Last year, we were up 15% from 2018, and this year, we are up 3% from that. So we've gained 18% in the last 2 years. Our sales tax commission, which we get from the tax office, it's down a little bit, but they owed us a little bit of a payment. They paid a partial payment, and I didn't have it until this morning, so it didn't make it onto the sheet. But I think that we're pretty. Let me think. She added 155,000 to it, I think. So I'm gonna do some quick math. Y'all gonna see how bad my math skills are, and don't judge me. Okay, so if she added 155, I got 774, so we're actually up a little bit from last year. But we didn't receive that until this morning, so that's why you guys don't have up-to-date information. Our next category is interest. As you can see, last year we were up 75% from 2018, but then this year we're down almost 50% from last year. So our interest is not earning like it did last year. And then the other, I wish I could tell you what that was, but I slept a little bit since then, and I apologize. I knew, and I was going to remember, and I said I'm going to remember that it's all these things, but it's like CSCD, we get a payment from the state, and it's other state payments that they'll send us. That's what the other is. And so last year we were up 5% from the year before, and then this year we're down 15% from last year, and that may just be a timing issue. But I can check into that a little later on in the budget process. If you want to, just give me a call and I'll look that up for you gentlemen, and I'll have it for you if you need it next month, okay? Ad valorem tax, we were up 14% last year from the year before, and then this year we're up just slightly. And I don't think that has anything to do with anything other than it was pretty flat. We didn't change our rates. And so then overall, our revenues, we were up 10% 2019 from 2018, and then this year our total revenues were down just 6%. So it's not too bad considering that we've been closed for a few weeks, that our economy's been shut down. I think we're still doing okay. If you want me to, I can update you. Don't go to sleep on me. This is not boring. This is good stuff. I took my glasses off. I saw you getting sleepy. I'm teasing you, Mr. Pitts. I'm just teasing you. I can do June for you if you need me to. If you feel like during the budget process you need some updated numbers, just give me a couple of days to get that together for you. Yes, sir.
Jill, on this last page right here for the tobacco settlement,
Oh,
are
that's,
all these different accounts that you've got?
Yes, sir,
Is that a
they're all
listing of all-
CDs.
That's where all the different accounts are that you've got in all the
Okay.
different locations?
okay, so what we have is, on the very top line is the one we have at Commercial Bank.
Sure.
These other 6 are at the same company, they're just invested in different places.
Okay,
So we spread that out,
right.
okay? We got good interest rates back in February when we initially did this.
That's at Wichita.
No, sir, this is, dadgummit.
FNC.
Financial Northeastern, somebody's gonna need to learn
Financial
this.
Northeastern, okay.
Somebody needs to learn what FNC stands for, because I obviously cannot remember.
Yeah.
I can spell it out next time, I'll put it at the bottom, I'll put a
But
little
that is,
star on
that
here.
answered the question. That's what I was wondering. Those are all,
Those are all CDs and they're locked in
Right.
at that interest rate for the
Right.
duration. And I put the maturity dates on there for you, so you'll
Sure.
see when they become mature.
okay.
And hopefully, when some of these ones that we're holding for a year and 15 months, 18 months, hopefully, they will have a better interest rate when they become mature, and then that way we can just roll them over and continue to earn. We can always pull the interest out and book it, but I chose this last time in May to leave it, the interest that we earned on that CD that came due. I chose to leave it because to put it back, I think it's earning, y'all are not even gonna like this, is .07. So there was no reason to move it back when I can just roll it into something new
Right.
and can let it continue to earn at a much higher rate. It's a little tricky sometimes. It's almost like you've got coconuts and you're shuffling them around, trying to figure out what's going on. So do you gentlemen have any questions about where we're standing on our, and these are just the things that that we keep track of in our office. This is not a reflection on the books that Janice keeps.
Right.
This is strictly, we have, what we have is we have a virtual spreadsheet. It's just like our virtual checkbook is what it is. And Tessa keeps it updated. And as things come in, as revenues come in and she receipts things, she records them. And then if we have a special, like a one-time or like sales tax, we get it once a month, she pulls it out and puts it on the side. So I have an itemized list of those things that we get occasionally. So like the landfill deposits all the time, well, it's just in a general category. So those are we have a revenue side and then we have an expenditure side. So then we have payroll and then we'll have things like medical claims. We have commissioner's court. We'll have those pay-to-days that you guys see at the back of your packet. We have all that on the expense side, so we can keep up with what, did we pay this? Did we do that? Did we put it on here? Is it here? Like quarterlies, we do that, April, July, things like that. We keep track of that stuff separately. So we can see those expenditures that stand out. Or if we have an extremely large expenditure, we'll put it over to the side so we can keep up with it, like our bond payments. Like when we're paying for Connie's, not Connie's anymore, it's Elizabeth's, excuse me. I haven't made the transition from Connie to Elizabeth yet. I apologize, Elizabeth. Her voting machines, we make that payment. When the sheriff had the tower, we pulled that off to the side. And so we keep track of those payments. So that's what I have on this sheet. It may or may not match what Janice has in the system, but this is our cash flow. This is what we've spent. So
This is a good report. This is
Well,
a
thank
good
you.
report that you do, and appreciate it. The fact that we're doing this monthly now is,
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well,
good.
the state
It's
required
good.
us to do it monthly. Deborah just was having trouble getting the report to work, and it still doesn't work right. And I have to run, I know, this is where I get your sympathy, where you feel sorry for me. I have to run 3 whole reports to get my one report to do it, but it's
That's good.
okay, because it's not that hard once I figured it out how to do it. And I don't mind pulling all the interest for you so you can have a look at that. I don't mind doing any of that because it's information for you. It helps you do your jobs better. It's information for the public and it answers their questions. What do we have in long-term debt? What do we make in interest? Where are we invested? It's their money and they need to know that. So I don't mind doing it
cool.
Thank you.
because that's what we're here for. We're here
We
to
need a
serve.
motion, ain't it?
Do what?
Need a motion?
Need a motion.
You need
Hey,
to sign
first
it.
thing, excellent job, thank you.
Yes.
Motion to approve
With signatures.
Have,
with a signature,
yeah,
all of
So-
us or you?
Everybody
Everybody
signs.
has-
Okay,
sign
motion
this
to
thing.
approve with the court.
with everybody court
With
signature.
the court signatures.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
Good job.
And if you need me to update for June, let me know. I need a couple of days to work on it.
No
If you
problem.
need me to break out expenses, I'm gonna need a lot more time than that. Okay? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And ask Elizabeth Hawkins to come in, please, sir. Item number 11, appearance of Elizabeth Hawkins, election administrator. Good morning. Good morning. To present, let's see, to give an update of the days and time for early voting for July 14, 2020 Democratic/Republican primary runoff election. Good morning. State your name for the record, please.
Elizabeth Hawkins. And the only difference is it's going to, Friday and Saturday, that is going to be a federal holiday, so we're not able to work the elections. So what we've done is we've tried to compensate some time for Wednesday and Thursday of the first week. We've extended early voting till 7 p.m. And then the following week, we're going to be working Sunday, and then go Monday, Tuesday, and we'll work for the rest of the week.
Till 7 every night.
The first 2 days of the first week, we will be working till 7. The rest of the week, we'll be going from 8 to 5.
Okay, outstanding. Give everybody time. Do we need to approve those change dates? Does the court need to sign and approve?
No, sir, we're just letting you know what's going on in the elections office.
Outstanding, good.
Thank you,
All right, any
Work.
questions?
You said the first 2 days?
Of the
going-
second week,
of the
so
second week. Okay.
you guys should have the schedule that
It's
is
showing 8
on
to
the.
5. Mine's showing 8 to 5.
All right,
You
so
said
the
7?
first week, it's going to be Monday and Tuesday, which will be from 8 to 5.
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday should be 8 to 7.
Got it.
Friday and Saturday, we will be off. Sunday, we are going to be working from 12 to 5. Monday and Tuesday of the second week, we should be working 8 to 7 p.m. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we will be working from 8 to 5.
Gotcha.
And still doing the same locations?
No.
Yeah.
We actually, on the locations, it's a lot, on the first presentation, I wasn't able to make that last time. We only have 15 locations for Election Day this time.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, gentlemen?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion to accept the report and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job. All right. Moving on, item number 12, ask the DA to come in, please.
Well, actually, this is me.
Discussion, I'm sorry?
So actually, this is me.
Number-
Oh, no.
These are not.
Oh, yeah, number 12. I just wanted her to be in here for that. Number 12, discussion action on approving the 2020 budget for the District Attorney's State Grants Fund, which includes both the Victims Crime Act grant and the Violence Against Women grant.
Okay.
Janice, good morning.
We know that the DA got the 2 grants last year, and the positions have just been recently filled, so there was never a budget presented for the 2 grants. So this is what I have put together, and I have created a DA State Grants Fund. So both grants are in this fund, so we can track it and keep up with the expenditures and the local match and et cetera. So we have to, when we have new money coming in, then we have to set a budget for it. So that's what this is the budget for those 2 grants in this fund.
And basically, it's a statement by us that we're going to accept a new budget. Okay, gentlemen?
So you need a motion to accept the budget for the
Yes.
state grant?
Right.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, is the budget already set out? Yeah. Could I have a copy of that?
Yes.
Sure.
All right,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept going forward with the 2020 budget for the District Attorney State Grants Fund.
So there's no issue creating a budget like that for those 2 positions?
The budget's in the process of,
It's required by statute that the court
Yeah.
set a budget for those funds.
yeah. It's a little unusual,
sir.
we just have to make a statement in the court stating that we're creating this budget.
If the
The grants were approved received after the budget was set in place last year, so we got to set up a special budget for it.
Yeah, good
Thank you,
question.
sir.
Good
Thank you,
question,
sir.
though.
And also too, I think if the state comes in here and audits, then they can ask the question, was it approved in court? So
Yeah.
that we've got it.
Okay.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, item number 13, discussion action on budget transfer for the district attorney state grant fund. You'll notice on this that the assistance, federal payroll taxes, retirement, medical, group insurance, workers' comp, and state employee for these positions is basically all transferring to a different number, but it's exactly the same thing. That's part of, from what I understand, creating where it's easier to keep up with.
Yes,
Janice?
what I've done here was, when we approved the budget last year, we, at that point in time, when the budget was prepared, we knew that we were gonna get the Victims Assistance Coordinator grant. So I had included that position in the DA's office budget. But in order to try to keep up with all these grants, since we have the other one, I have set up the new state grants fund. So I need to move that money out of her department budget and put it into the state grants budget, which is what we just approved. So all I'm doing there is just transferring it from her department and putting that position into the state grants because it is a grant position.
Okay. Do you have a question about that? Is it understood?
No, ma'am, no, sir, I think it's understood, that was already budgeted money, and she's just moving it to get it where she needed to be.
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Motion approved.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the figures as shown. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 14, discussion action on budget transfer for the district attorney, transfer from contingency in the amount of $13,893.74 to capital outlay in the same amount, $13,893.74. Janice?
The court approved, I don't remember if it was last quarter or the court before, but the court approved to pay for the new office furniture for the DA's office out of contingency. But in order for us to be able to keep up with what's going into her office, and we always move the money from contingency to the departments that it needs to be used, I want to move the money from the contingency account line item and put it in her department so we can track and make sure that we're keeping up with the furniture in her department. But I see there's a typo on that. It says 010-015-447. It should be 075. 015's my department, and I don't have that much money in my department, so.
Oh, I see that.
So it should be 075-4467.
Okay. So noted on the record. With the, let the record reflect that the contingency number was incorrect. If you would repeat it one more time.
It should be 010-075-4467.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Motion approved.
With the correction
Yes, sir.
on the contingency. All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Janice. All right, item number 15, appearance of Janet Kessel's district attorney to discuss / action on budget transfer of local match required for grant 382-8701 Victims Crime Act. Good morning.
Good morning, how are y'all?
Good morning.
So, back before I got here, when we were awarded this grant, which was covering a grant attorney position and a grant investigator position, I believe you all approved to pay the match back in November of last year, but the money for that match was never moved. And so pursuant to a request from the auditor, I'm here to request the transfer from contingency to enable her to fund the match for those two positions on the grant that was previously approved but never transferred.
Correct.
That was in November, wasn't it?
It was toward the end of the year, I know,
Yeah.
when we approved that.
Yeah.
It's in the minutes.
Yeah.
Huh?
November the 12th.
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
so,
It's
yeah.
it's in the minutes. We
Okay.
just never actually, we knew, we were waiting until
Yeah.
the people actually got hired to make sure
Yeah,
that.
we never moved on it, so
Yes.
that's fine.
Exactly.
Motion, yeah, second.
Okay, have a
One of
motion.
us.
What else?
Motion to approve.
We have
How's
a
that?
motion to approve and a second down here. All right. To move from contingency and that is the correct number, 50,403 to local fund match, in the same amount, 50,403. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, now, item number 16, appearance of Janet Kessel, District Attorney, for discussion of unpaid salary funds in the District Attorney's budget and anticipated grant award shortfalls. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, we're gonna come up to budget time, and I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of, inform you all of what a certain number of situations are within our department and our budget, and I also brought my grant writer in case you have any questions about it. As you all know, we've tried to get our grant funding off of the ground. We've had to get some spaces, we came and asked for furniture, we had to get some hires made. At this point, all three of those grant positions, one of which was the Victim Assistance Coordinator that came in before the budget, and then the other two positions that came in that were approved in November, all of those positions are now filled. And so we found ourselves in an unenviable position of having to have our reporting requirements triggered before we had the positions filled. So when you get grant funds, and these grants are for different purposes, but the two that came in, the one that covers the two positions for the attorney and the investigator are for crimes against women. So we have to keep statistics on what we're doing on those cases to show we're making productive use of that money and that the money is helping us achieve the goals that the grant's designed for. What happened to us before I ever arrived is reporting requirements were triggered and we didn't have people in those spots to make anything to report. So because of that, and due to our communication with grant administrators, we believe we're non-renewed for next year. So the liquidation period for the grant on the monies that we currently have been awarded is through the end of the year, I believe December 29th. So the people that we have employed, we believe we have the funding, we'll be able to get the reimbursement for through the end of the year. The question then becomes, what happens when we start up January 1 and we'd like to have been able to continue these grants? If we had not had the triggering, the reporting requirements triggered early, I don't think we would have had any shortfall. We can't change the position that we're in, and so I've tried to consider what can we do to address this. My grant writer feels like she can write a new grant that we would turn in March of next year. If we were re-awarded the grant, which we feel like is a very good possibility, the funding could start as early as October. So I'm looking at a possible shortfall from January to October. In addition to that, the grant writer has also requested an extension for the liquidation period of that grant. What that means is if they'll extend that liquidation period past December, we'll have more time to spend the money that we were awarded that we actually haven't spent yet. We were supposed to get a year's worth of money that we didn't start spending until recently. So they could give us an extension that wouldn't cost them any extra money that could take us past the first of the year. What she's done is request an extension to May. We don't know for sure whether we're going to get that. We're hoping we might know something before budget time. The good news is it's kind of determinable what our open spots may be. So in looking at what we have in the budget, I've gone back and I've also conferred with the auditor's office. We currently have, due to unfilled budgeted positions, an amount of money that we haven't used that we would have used if all those positions had been filled. And so we've got about $109,000, almost $110,000 estimate that we have not used. And so that's money that was budgeted us, that if those positions had been filled, when I took office, there were 3 positions that were not filled and hadn't been filled for some time. If they had been filled, obviously that money would have been used. Because they hadn't been, that money is not going to get used. The time period for its use is really past. And so because we had the gap, when we get to the end of the year, we're going to have almost $110,000, we think, fairly close estimate, of money that we were budgeted for this year that we didn't use this year. And so I anticipate coming and requesting at budget time an increase in what we're normally awarded that would be whatever that amount is, that is not really a true increase to carry forward year for year, but is really me asking you for this year's money that went unused, for you to allow me to have it next year to attend to that shortfall that we know we're going to have on the grant. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall. And so I did some calculations on the shortfall And initially, I thought, you know, if we had to pay for the full 9 months, if we got no extension at all, that our worst-case scenario was a little under $60,000 that might not be met. But when I went back and looked at it, if I didn't count the grant money match that you already approved, and we really only accounted the money that we were missing, it's less than that. And so, if I have to go the full 9 months, and you were allowing me to have the unused money back for next year, we could have as little as $13,000, $14,000 we're short. And if we get any extension at all, even if it's not all the way to May, it'll be less than that. So what I'm telling you is, we could still have some shortfall, but it's within a certain range, and it actually, you know, it shrunk to less than $15,000 if I'm allowed to use this money that wasn't used this year, could have been, should have been if those positions were filled, but they weren't. And so you're gonna see that in your budget requests. And I do think that, you know, we're gonna do everything we can to see what the status of the extension is before we get that far. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
The extension that I certified yesterday, does that look like it's probably gonna be able to extend?
Well, Judge, that's what she's talking about.
Right.
And as I explained yesterday, and I don't know that I did a real good job, what I did is I tried to calculate from our date of hire.
Right.
From the earliest date of hire, which was the VAC position. I didn't want to be greedy, and I don't know, because of virus and shutdown, I know that there are a lot of people with grants who have not been able to spend their money. And so I tried to calculate from the date of hire for the VAC what 1 year would be, because that's what we were awarded, was a 1-year grant with 1 year's worth of salary. So I did both of the extensions to May 31st, 2021, with the hopes that they would look at our date of hire for those positions and say, well, we awarded you a year's worth of salary, and that'll give you the year to use it. Can I tell you that they're gonna give it to us?
Don't know.
I have no idea, and I feel like, I'd like to say, I think we can tell you by budget time.
Sure.
What I feel like is, because those grants start to liquidate on different schedules starting in September and October, I have some concern that it will be October, November before they ever get around to looking at those December liquidation grants, because they're gonna go in order. You know, they're gonna try to close out the ones that they need to close out, and I have some fear that it's gonna be that long before we know. But I can assure you, those people know my name. They're tired of me calling and emailing, but I try to stay on their radar, because I know it is an issue for us, and I know it's something that we desperately needed in the office, and we really want to keep, and I will continue to politely aggravate those people until we get an answer. So
And
that's what I'm hoping.
Certifying the reports yesterday allowed that to go forward, so.
Yes, sir.
sure.
Yes, sir.
You bet.
And we appreciate that, and part of the point is so that you know we're doing everything we can to use those funds that were allotted. But the other part of it is to let you know, if you would consider allowing us to pay next year's salary with this year's unused money, the shortfall is very little. And so even without the extension, we would be in pretty good shape if that's something that you would consider.
Janice, is this anything that we need to address right now, or do we need to wait until budget time, and what are the pitfalls?
Well, since I didn't know what all Jan had in mind,
Sure.
I'm really not prepared to say one way or the other. I don't know what all the legal ramifications, the county attorney will have to address all that. But I am concerned about, when she's talking about taking the leftover money for this year for our next year. At the end of the year, the way it works is what's not used rolls back down into the fund balance. So I'd have to try to figure out how we would preserve that money, if there's a way to do that.
But now, this being grant money though, is that not a
Well,
total?
that's not,
It's
that's
not,
not
this
Oh, it's
is,
not?
this is not, but that's a good question, it's a
Yeah.
good thought,
Yeah.
but.
And I will say, I spoke with the county attorney about this, and I'm not suggesting that it doesn't go back to your general fund, but I think if we come to you at budget time and we ask you for it, and you
That's-
understand where it is, and I'm not asking for any action.
Right.
I just kind of wanted to make clear what our status was for you. I think you can budget it absolutely, and I just wanted it to be clear to y'all that while it's gonna look like an increase, you all know, and we're informing you, we actually have some money
Sure.
that's gonna be a sum certain, that was unused from before. It's not like that increase has to go forward every year. It would be us asking for it back at budget time to cover that shortfall. And since we haven't used it, and it was originally designated for our department where we would have a need for it and could use it, it's really just for information purposes today. I'm not asking for any
It's
action.
a heads up for what might happen at budget time.
Yes, sir, and I'll just tell you, I mean, we're gonna ask for it, but I certainly would be happy to entertain any questions. And I think that, you know, to the extent that that was budgeted for our department and we didn't get to use it, and we could make productive use of it, and it wouldn't be coming out of somewhere else. In other words, that money goes back into that general fund, we all know where it came from, we all know what the purpose was.
Sure.
And so that you could budget it at that time.
Let the record reflect that we've been briefed on this, and so we know exactly what to expect maybe toward the budget time.
Can I make one comment, Judge?
Sure, certainly, sir.
Yeah, I spoke with Ms. Kessels earlier at the end of last week about it. I think that the court can accomplish this if it chooses to do so when it sets the budget for next year.
Right.
I think the route you would probably need to go is setting these positions up and approving the money as temporary county positions. So it would be additional money in the DA's budget for 3 temporary positions. That would be put in place for whatever period of time is needed to cover the shortfall when the grant runs out, when they get the
Right.
new grant, whether that's 4 months or 9 months.
But
I guess
we'll-
if they get the extension, it would be about 4 months.
That's what we're
From
looking
May
at
to
now.
October, and 9 months. So anyway, I think conceptually and legally, it could be done if the court decides to place that money.
We need to do that at budget time once we have an exact figure
Yes,
though,
sir.
correct?
I think you could do that through establishing temporary county positions for whatever period is necessary, and then budgeting the money for those positions would be the route to go legally.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 17, discussion action on budget transfer for county auditor from personnel training of $750 to capital outlay of $750.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 18, discussion action on budget transfer for Road and Bridge number 1, parts and shop in the amount of $300.16 to equipment rental in the same amount, $316. Yes, ma'am.
Typo, on the request it says $300.61, and on the agenda it says $300.16. So I'm assuming it should be 61 cents.
What?
instead of 16.
Commissioner, do you know what the
61?
amount is supposed to
61
be?
cents. 61 cents.
61?
Not
Okay.
16.
300.
$300.61
and 61 cents. Those two are transposed, okay.
Motion approved, $361.
$361.61, correction. All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second on the floor to approve this budget transfer with the correction. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, item number 19, discussion action on approval for Road and Bridge Precinct Number 1 to renew current lease to purchase a 2017 John Deere backhoe in 2 annual payments financed through First National Bank, Wichita Falls.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the approval
Authorizing.
to renew, authorizing the judge to sign.
Judge to sign.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 20, discussion action on Road and Bridge number 4, reducing the speed limit in the Green Ridge subdivision to 20 miles an hour.
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay. All right.
What was that? Motion table?
Motion to table.
Okay.
All right. Interesting. All right. We have a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Motion is tabled. All right. Item number 21, discussion action on finishing upgrade communication work on new radio equipment from contingency in the amount of $238,067.70 to fencing at the 2 locations that are already established, and $12,000, $6,000 each. Slab for $16,000, that is $8,000 each, and wiring for generator 2 locations of $1,200. Take down the old tower in precinct 3 of $28,688, and bring the Diboll site online for $180,179.70 for the total of communication upgrade of $238,067.70.
Is that gonna finish everything, Judge?
Should be, that's what we're hoping. This thing was gonna bring Diboll online.
Yeah.
And this thing at the, we're looking at maybe November.
Yeah.
They'll be in the testing phase.
Yeah.
And everybody, including y'all, should be able to get on and have everything with a handheld radio.
Is that gonna clear your yard up yonder? If they take that tower down?
Yeah, it's taking it down but leaving it in place, not removing it. It's gonna be taken down and set off to the side.
Oh, okay.
What are they gonna do with scrap?
Gonna be, a lot of it is usable. There's only the part at the bottom that has some questionable damage. And the next step would be to sell it as salvage, and, cause it is a very usable tower. Or possibility of getting inmates to clean it,
Yeah,
ASPRO, and repaint it and really prepare it for sale. But, you know, we'll look at all that after, down the road. But the main thing is get it out of the way, so make that piece of property a lot more usable.
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, now, item number 22, appearance of Jonathan Frells and Ben Rosenberg to present for discussion and action an order of Angelina County, Texas, authorizing the issuance and sale of Angelina County, Texas tax note, Series 2020, awarding the sale of said note.
Judge, take a break.
Oh, yeah, all right. I'm sorry. We're gonna reset. Motion to recess. All right. Let's take a break right quick.
When we make that motion, did we make a motion with the signature?
Ben, you run them all off.
You
what is
You run them off.
Yes. Yeah, what the judge
Hey, you better put that
said.
mask back on.
It was,
I think I'm gonna go make a fix.
hey, you never look better.
Jonathan Fraley, Judge.
Hey, Jonathan.
Good, how you doing?
All right. Sorry for the delay. We had urgent needs for a break.
Yes, doing very well, thank you. You're gonna be close to the podium. I don't want to go for lawyers.
I'll go first. Maybe handouts now?
Yeah.
I'm shocked. So this is the signature page.
Thank you, sir.
Ball, humbug. Did you have a good trip up? Good.
Last night, this week.
Thank you very much. I didn't steal your shit up. That was a good decision.
been a lot of discussion as to when we're able to move forward and allow more room and everything. So far, the courts, what we're doing now seems to be the best way to do it, according to what we're hearing from the governor, so.
Yeah, no, and I watched a few of these online when
You
y'all
bet.
had them, and it's.
You bet.
it's good.
And we're able to live stream, so everybody in the county has full access to everything we're doing. And then that's archived, so,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right. Let's go ahead and come back to session.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Said thank you.
Thank you. All right, no problem, no problem. All right, item number 22. We are back live. Appearance of Jonathan Frells and Ben Rosenberg to present for discussion and action an order of Angelina County, Texas, authorizing the issuance and sale of Angelina County, Texas tax note, Series 2020, awarding the sale of said note, levying a tax and payment thereof, and prescribing the form of said note, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. A lot of words, and I understand that Mr. Ben Rosenberg is going to be first. And if you would, please, sir, state your name for the record.
Yes, sir, it's Ben Rosenberg, and I'm with U.S. Capital Advisors, and good to be here again this morning, Judge and Court, present the results of our tax note sale, if you will. Through the little packet, I'll just sort of go through the packet. I start off with the timetable again, just to remind you of the process we've been going through over the last several months, from when we had the initial call to talk about options. And after going through all the different options, last 2 weeks ago when we were here, we said we were instructed to put together a term sheet. That's what we did. We sent out this to about 100 different bankers, probably 50 or so different banks, including 3 of your local banks, Commercial Bank of Texas, Southside, and UBank. And we gave them 2 weeks to put together a proposal. Those bids were due this morning, and I have several pages of compilation. We've got a lot of different options, so for your consideration. If you choose to move forward this today, Jonathan Frells with Bracewell is here as a bond attorney. A lot of paperwork that we have to sign. He's got to submit it to the Attorney General for approval. Comptroller has to certify it. He has to render a tax opinion that this is done on a tax-exempt basis. A lot of other things that have to be done. But we can get that, turn that around fairly quickly and have money hopefully in the bank by June 30. Okay, by the end of the month, to give you a little time to work on the roads this summer. So with that said, if you go through page 2 and 3 at the bottom, that's the timetable. Page 4 is the calculation of all 6 bids. So to make these fair and compare apples to apples, we take their rate bid. If you look at the rate bid, there's the 6 banks that bid, the rates that were bid, and then they have miscellaneous fees. So in our term sheet, you have options to reject all bids, one option. 2 is to select the bid with the lowest total interest cost, or TIC. So this is all bids that were in TIC order, so you can see them from top to bottom, 1 through 6. Now, when you borrow money, you have some options on if the bonds are, or these are tax notes, if you pay them off, what we call non-callable, if you're going to pay for the full 7 years, like you have on your current note. Or you'd ask, what if we pay it off early? So we asked the banks to bid options, and that's what we have. We have 3 different options. One's what we call non-callable, which will have it out for the full 7 years. 2 banks bid a 5-year call option, and then 2 banks bid callable anytime. So that's what I thought we'd try to summarize. So that page 4 is based on total interest costs, and you can see the call features bid, the annual debt service, what that means in annual debt service, and then the total debt service over the full 7 years, assuming that you would keep it over 7 years. Page 5 summarizes the bids in the call feature option. So you can see for the ones that are non-callable, you're going to pay that for the full term. J.P. Morgan Chase bid a 1.23. After their fees, the calculated TIC is 1.245. and you can see the average debt service cost, $927,540 versus $929,622. Or total debt service cost over the 7 years, $6,263,473 versus $6,277,533. So if you were just comparing those two, you would normally take the lower bid. F&B Huntsville bid what we call a scale. So if you look at the bid, there's so many documents, pages, I thought I'd just try to summarize it. The 7 years, they bid a different interest rate on each year. Now, so it varies, but it's fixed. So it varies each year, and that's the present value average of those 7 years is 1.295, really close. But JP Morgan Chase had the lower TIC calculated interest cost of the non-callable options. On the 3 bids that came in with 5-year call options, again, JP Morgan Chase had the 1.27 or 1.285 calculated versus 1.7 versus 2.13 for Texas Capital Bank. So you can see of those 3 options, if you wanted to make payments for 5 years and have the option to pay off, those are the debt service costs. And then lastly, TIB and AMG bid callable anytime. So that gives you the option to pay it off at any time over the 7 years.
Who is TIB?
The Independent Bankers Bank, and they go by TIB.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they at? All over?
Out of Dallas. They're based out of Dallas. So you can see those 2 banks bid callable anytime. And so then on page 6, I thought, well, this is probably the decision point here. The 3 best or lowest cost to the county of non-callable, you can make payments for full 7 years, or you could do a 5-year call, and that's gonna cost you $9,219 more. Or if you want the flexibility to call it off and pay it at any time, that would cost you about $27,600 more over the 7 years. That's how close they were between those different bids. So you're just gonna see the rates. You go to refinance a house, you always want that lowest interest rate, but really what is the difference to the county over the cost? And that was our goal, is to try to present you with the lowest borrowing cost, and here's 3 options. And so now it's really up to you to decide, which option you think is best for the county.
Interesting.
Can we ask for the treasurer's opinion on that?
Yes,
Sure.
I'd like to.
Then maybe come down. All right, gentlemen. The difference between the 3 bids is very small. $27,000 over the course of 7 years. Ad valorem tax is anywhere from $14–15 million. What it's gonna come down to is how you wanna do it. Do you want it to be non-callable, which means we are in place to make a payment for 7 years? Do you want a 5-year call option? The 5-year call option means we have to pay the first 5 years and then we can pay it off. Or the third option is we can pay it off whenever we get good and ready. So it's up to you gentlemen as to what you want. I think any of these bids are acceptable.
Okay. What is the, that callable anytime? Is that night, how much did you
That's that
say?
very last one.
Yeah, but it was like, something Ben said a while ago, it was like $9,000 or something like that, but it'd be go up
Okay,
to
see, that's on-
$27,000 if
That's
we.
on page 6.
Uh-huh,
And what he's saying is that the best interest rate and the lowest amount of money is a non-callable, which is exactly what we've got going on now.
right,
With our 2012 refunding bond.
Sure.
and that's a
Okay?
7-year
And we'll
deal?
be stuck for 7, I'm just gonna put it to you
Right,
the way
and
it
that's-
really is.
right.
We're stuck for 7 years.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Paying that. And so if we don't have any way, if, say, next year we have some great industries come in, or the year after that, we could pay it off early if we can generate more revenue.
Right.
And who knows what the future has for us? We may have 10 new businesses
Yeah.
come in. I don't know. I'm being very optimistic when I say that. But when you do a non-callable, you're stuck for 7 years without an option to ever get out of it. You just have to trudge through the whole time. The second one, you have to pay the first 5 years, and then you can pay the balance at any time. The third option, which is only $27,000 difference between our lowest bid and the call anytime, which means
If some miracle were to happen and we were to receive all the money next year, we could pay it off next year if we wanted to.
And that's at callable anytime.
That is callable anytime.
Just $27,000 difference in
Yes, sir.
any of it.
That's over the entire length.
Over the
Right.
7 years.
Yeah.
And so I can't, if it were up to me, I would choose any one of these three. I'm not gonna recommend or tell you not to do something. You have just as much information as I do. If you wanna be paying for 7 years, gentlemen, that's what you do. If you wanna pay for 5 years and then pay it off early, gentlemen, that's what you do. If you wanna pay it off whenever you get good and ready, gentlemen, that's what you do. This is your call. This is not mine to make.
Well,
I only get to choose where you invest your money.
yeah. The only thing I'm looking at here, and it's that TIB.
Yes.
You know, it's callable anytime. Of course, you know, it's a lower rate.
It's a little higher rate.
It's a little higher.
Well, it's a little higher, it's a little lower from Amergy.
Yes.
Yes.
In all the callables, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't really want to get locked in for 7 years if we can stay away from that. I like the 5-year deal, you know, but like you say, but I mean, the callable anytime is still gonna be a 7-year deal, but we can just call it at any time,
We
correct?
can pay it off anytime if we get a
Right.
windfall.
And the biggest thing I've been hearing, well, y'all, you know, you're gonna take 3 years to do your work and then 7 years to pay it off. Well, that's another 4 years. If we go a 5-year deal, we may can pay it off in the 4th year, you know,
We may
or
be able
whatever.
to.
Who knows? Good Lord, whatever good Lord wants us to do here, you know, but I like that, that TIB, callable anytime. And the difference between the two is gonna be about $83,000, ain't that?
The difference between.
At the last
lowest
number
bid
over
at
here,
Chase
total
Morgan, it's 27,000.
Okay,
On the last
okay,
page.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
question about
You
TIB.
divide that out by years.
Right, right,
It's still money, but it is real money, but it's smaller amounts.
Yeah,
Very-
smaller amount.
Very negligible over the 7 years.
But Greg, if we get a windfall, and that's trying to look into a crystal ball.
Oh, I
or
know.
something, we could pay it off. If we have some kind of oil revenue or something that comes in, or, we don't know.
No, nobody
What
knows
could
what the
happen.
future is, so I just,
But it gives us a lot of flexibility.
right, if we do the callable
Yes, sir.
anytime,
Anytime.
right,
I think we've got about $30 million of new construction this year.
That's
Yeah.
going online. Yeah.
And
So I mean,
they're building houses faster than we
Yeah.
can.
oh, yeah.
We can repair.
Yeah, my
them.
roads show that,
Yeah,
Thank you.
nothing against them, but I'm just
that's,
saying.
that's true.
What, talk to us about TIB. I've never heard of them. I'm just
Thank you,
wondering
Jim.
how stable.
The TIB stands for the Independent Bankers Bank. I can't tell you the assets and all that of the bank, but they are a regional player. They participate in almost every transaction we do. They have a very big public sector practice here in Texas.
So you've got a lot of knowledge of them. I've just never heard of them.
Very comfortable with them. They do a lot of work. They bid on every transaction that we do, pretty much. No problems with them.
And Greg, also another thing, and this is something that we did with the jail up there, we did refinance it.
Yeah, oh, I know, yeah,
This gives us an option to refinance. If
right,
we,
right.
I mean, I'm not saying that's the direction we need to go, but options is on the table.
Yeah,
You know.
but my deal is the only thing I've heard in this whole
Yes,
deal
it's taken
is
7 years.
you're locking
to
us down for 7 years where we can, we have an option here. We'll do the 5-year anytime, all right, I'm just saying I would like to do. But the thing about it is, good Lord willing, in 3 years, we may have all this money piled up somewhere and pay it off,
Right.
Who knows?
Well, now, there's two different things. There's the 5-year fixed.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the call anytime.
That's what I meant, I'm
And the
sorry,
call-
yeah, the call
I'm just
anytime, yeah.
clarifying, the call anytime.
But I like that call anytime because it gives us flexibility,
Very little difference in what the county would be looking at interest rate, but it gives you lots of flexibility
Right,
too.
right.
And one thing at this low of an interest rate, you probably won't be able to refinance them or refund them, but
Right.
you could pay them
Interest
off
rate,
early.
yes.
And if you're at that low rate, you might not want to
You wouldn't want, I
may
get that.
refinance.
But it gives you the option.
But you
have
could
that
pay it
option.
off early. That gives you the option to pay it off early
Yes,
if you want to.
yes,
Right.
okay.
So a lot of options, tried to narrow it down to a decision point. because even when we looked at it first, they had all that first page number 4, it looked a little confusing. We tried to
Yeah.
narrow it down to, these are the decision points to make.
Okay. Guys, any other questions? Jonathan?
My name is Jonathan Frells. I'm with Bracewell. Judge, members of the Commissioners Court, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So with the information that Ben has given you, the next step is to adopt an order authorizing the issuance of the tax notes. We have input the information from the various bids inside of the document. And so when you make a decision, we'll finalize that order and have it ready for you. Just a couple of things to think about here. You are issuing tax notes, and since you're issuing tax notes, these are tax exempt, and we're issuing them as tax exempt debt. There are some rules on how the proceeds have to be used, and I think the biggest one to keep in mind is that they have to be used on capital expenditures. And so when we're issuing this type of debt, you've got to make sure you use that on capital expenditures.
Which is our roads, correct?
Yes, which roads. And so this is the construction, improvement, and repair of streets and roads is what your order's authorized for. So it's not set up for purchasing individual pieces of equipment, things like that. This is for road repair and construction. And so I just wanted to make that clear that that's how we set up this particular order. And then also some of the restrictions that you have from a federal tax law standpoint. So what the order does is it sets forth the terms and conditions that Mr. Rosenberg outlined for you with the group that you ultimately choose. And then it also sets forth your contract with that purchaser. And I know you guys have done this before and you have some debt that's currently outstanding. Once you approve this, what we'll do is we'll take the information, we'll get all the documentation executed by the relevant parties, we'll take it to the Attorney General's office, we'll get their opinion. We'll also issue our opinion with respect to it, and then we'll have it registered by the comptroller. That process takes about 10 to 15 business days, and has been indicated will be finished by the 30th of this month and ready to close. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have with respect to the order. Yes, sir.
Question, the 5.8. From what I'm understanding, once this tax note is issued, it's not going to come in increments. It's going to be 5.8. And my question is to Janice, how are we handling the funds at that point? If it's all coming in at one time, how is it going to be handled as far as it coming in and then we're actually, because from what I understand, do we have to buy the material all at one time? Can it be?
No, sir.
No.
Yeah.
No, sir. You have some time. So what the order will do is it'll create a note fund.
Right.
And so the proceeds of the sale, which will all come on the closing date, will be deposited into that note fund. You'll pay your cost of issuance out of that note fund. And then those funds will be there and able to be drawn upon for authorized purposes over time.
Okay. Is that?
Just the way we've done it in times past, they went to the tax note fund, and then each year we'll do a budget on it as to what they've estimated that they're going to spend each year. And as the invoices come in, it'll be paid from that tax note.
Understand that it's payable at budget time or annual. It's one payment a year instead of monthly increments, correct?
As far as the payment of.
As far as the payment, the repayment.
I don't know.
Well, the repayments are twice a year. Semi-
Twice a year, semi-annual,
Semi-annual.
mid-year and the end of the year, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
We've lined it up to match your current payments, like the current payments are due.
Okay, so that's basically what we've got going right now. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And that's pretty much fixed once the order is issued,
Yes, sir.
that we do that, two
Yes, sir.
payments?
There's one principal payment, 2 interest payments.
Okay.
That's right.
No acceleration or anything allowed?
No acceleration is authorized, no, sir.
Okay. But at that point, you can turn around and pay it off or pay part of it off?
So, yes, if you
You can
choose,
accelerate the note, but what would you have to do to accelerate the note if you got
Sure.
ready to do that?
yeah, Judge, if you were to choose the TIB bid, for example, that's callable at any time, if you chose to pay off a portion of it, what you would do is you would let us know. And then there are notice provisions inside of the order, and so 30 days prior to the date that you wanted to make those payments, we would go through that notice process, let TIB know that that was coming, and then we'd make a deposit with TIB, and they would indicate that those bonds had been called.
It'd still be
and
going
reduce that
through
principal
y'all's
amount.
control, though. Y'all would be,
We will work with you on those items.
And just like your mortgage payment, it would come off the back end, so it wouldn't change the payment.
sure, I understand that, yeah.
Payments would be set for the next 7 years.
Okay,
That's correct.
interesting. Any issues there? Okay, guys?
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
Let me get over here where I can read this again, sorry. I make a motion that we go with TIB on a callable anytime note, is that the right word? With all the understandings that we've been told.
Sure.
There's your motion.
All right, now the order,
All right, let me.
actually, we've got to approve the order if you do that. So
Okay,
let's actually
okay.
make the motion to approve the order.
I make the motion to approve the order. to-
Awarding the sale to TIB.
Awarding the sale to TIB.
And all the other stuff, levying the tax and payment thereof,
Yeah.
prescribing the form, said no.
Yeah, I don't have all that
enacting
to
of
read.
provisions. Yeah, I've got it right in front of me. so.
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry about that.
okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had plenty of discussion, but do we have any other discussion needed? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
I think that's.
Sure. Sure.
Oh, yeah, heck, yeah.
All right, we'll move on to item number 23. Consider any miscellaneous and routine items. Gentlemen? We don't have that many in there.
We got one from,
Judge Cheshire, appreciate
You
the
bet.
floor.
You bet.
Tax assessor collector.
Yep.
Yep.
most of the
That's it.
miscellaneous.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the miscellaneous and routine items. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 24, consider approval and authorization for payment of the bills as submitted by the county auditor.
Motion to pay the bills, there's no problems.
Second.
All right, motion to pay the bills. Any further discussion? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, item number 25, recess or adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your patience, everybody. All right,
Lots to sign.
now here is